All right. Hello, everybody, and hello, Suzanne.
Hi, Kara.
I've got Susanne Werblow with me today, and she is going to teach us about Kundalini Yoga. So we're going to start off with a conversation, learn a little bit more about her, and learn a little bit about Kundalini, and then she's actually going to walk us through a kriya for about an hour. So before we dive into that, let me just tell you a little bit more about what we're doing here. So I am connecting with a bunch of holistic health practitioners, mostly in the West Michigan area, to bring so much of their information to you as we go through this time of corona pandemonium. And so many of us are feeling a lot of extra stress amidst it. And there are so many different ways to help you navigate through that stress, to lessen the burden a little bit. And that's why I want to connect the general community with the practitioner community. Additionally, so many of us are affected by finances during this time. And there's a lot of fundraising campaigns going on for so many different sects of people. And I wanted to start one for those practitioners who are feeling the burden of the shutdown of things as well. So each one of these episodes, I invite you to donate whatever you can, whether it's $1, whether it's $20, whether it's $1,000, if that's something you can do. And me and the person that I'm interviewing, we will split it 50-50. And this will be really, really helpful for us to just support ourselves and support our families as we need, particularly in these times where we're seeing lots of cancellations, or some of us who cannot do our practice anymore, particularly those who are body workers, or particularly those who are leading group sessions, classes. So, all right. I will leave my donation information at the end of this and also in the notes below this episode. And let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, Suzanne. I know Suzanne, we've known each other for about, I think like 5 or 6 years at this point. We worked together at the Wellness Collective, and I got to know her through my time there and got to experience Kundalini Yoga a little bit. And I think I did a meditation series with you, and I popped into a class or two and got to experience what you offered at some of our retreats and whatnot. So it's always been a really interesting experience for me, and clients I've had that have attended your classes always have incredible things to say. It seems to be a really, really potent and transformative practice. And from my understanding, it is quite a bit different than your typical yoga. So tell me a little bit about what Kundalini Yoga is and how it differs from the typical yogas that most of us are familiar with.
Thank you, Kara, for this introduction. Kundalini Yoga is it's difficult to describe. I always tell new students, just jump into the class and swim with us, and you'll experience it so much easier. But right now, that's not possible, so I'm going to try to do my best to describe it a little bit. It's a very ancient form of yoga that has been brought to the West in the 70s, and it has been kept, it has not been westernized much. So it's really a form of yoga that uses all the yogic tools that are they're part of yoga. And so it's very potent because we do not only we don't only do asanas, but they're at the same time very specific breaths, there are specific mudras, we have always a specific eye gaze, we do energy work at the same time. It's really a holistic approach of the human being, working a lot on a body-mind connection. And the last aspect I didn't mention is it uses sound. So chanting is a part of the practice. either as a meditation or just using sound to move energy. It's one of the tools to move energy.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting yoga in that sense. It's also a yoga that is not being modified by us teachers. Actually, when we're being trained, we're being asked to be very respectful of the kriyas. We call the sets, the yoga sets, kriyas. They're like recipes. So it's like following a recipe. You start, generally you move, you open the chakra system, and then you start pumping a specific area that you want to work on. And every kriya has a specific goal. And so in order to achieve that specific goal, you have a few steps that you really respect. You don't mix it up and just say, well, I don't like to do this exercise, because your cake wouldn't be the same if you don't put the eggs in there, right? So so it's scripted yoga, and this knowledge has been passed to us generation to generation of yogis with that respect. What I'm amazed about when I practice, and I always like to do research before I teach, and I've been doing this practice for many years now. There's a deep understanding of the body-mind connection and of the human body. And research now, Western research, just starts to catch up with some of the knowledge that these yogis had. And when I prepare for a class and there's a little bit something written, it's for the liver, it detoxifies the liver when you do this or this. And then I search and I find some Western research that always confirms and that it's right, that it's pretty amazing.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you see the mind and body connection being facilitated through Kundalini?
Yeah, there are lots of aspects to that. The first and simplest aspect to creating that connection immediately is that we work with closed eyes mainly. So when you close your eyes, all these information that bombard you from the outside, there are thousands of them, they're not there anymore. And you can suddenly use all your senses to just look inside and to listen. So you will feel, you will listen, you will visualize your energetic body, all these things that you don't pay attention to when you have open eyes. So that is one way of doing that. The second major way of working on the body-mind connection is that there's a deep understanding of the chakra system. And for those of you who are familiar with the chakra system, if I had to just describe it in a few words, it's really the connection between your emotional life and your physical life, and through those energetic vortexes. And so that's another way of connecting mind and body. And then a lot of the yoga we do, we also work on emotional release, like getting rid of anger or sadness. And there's this knowledge of what part of the brain to trigger to sort of reset those parts. So there's very interesting work that you can do to reprogram your brain, and much more. It's difficult to answer that in a short way because everything works on everything. It's like a little universe where there are all these systems, but they're all connected. So whenever you work on one part, you impact the other part.
Okay. So I'm curious. So you said there's different ways to get rid of like anger or sadness. From my perspective, I see all emotions as helpful. So anger is an emotion that tells me I need to take action for something, or sadness is a response to something that, doesn't feel good, or maybe something that I don't have a lot of control over. So when you say it gets rid of those emotions, is that more of a like shifting you out of a place of stuckness? Because I've certainly been stuck in like really angry spots, and that anger is no longer helping me in any way because I'm not doing anything, but I'm like paralyzed by it, or sadness too. Does that, is
Yeah,
that kind of how, okay.
you're absolutely right. Anger it's a fantastic response, you know, and you should not repress it. When you feel angry, you should get it out. But then that emotion, that energy should pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when something makes you sad, you should you should let yourself be sad and grieve. But then this emotion should pass and should be able to go back to your life and take the time you need. But yes, I was talking about stuck emotion.
Yes.
So, you know, where the body, there's a memory of the physical body and where this energy is stuck. And so it can be triggered in times of your life where you're not supposed to be sad or you're not supposed to be angry. You know, you can be over angry when something happens, when that's not the correct response, because it's a program in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
something mechanism from one way before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So practices like this, they're so wonderful, because when you get into the routine of it, all of the spectrum of emotions that we feel, we have this thing that helps to move the energy of it and disable it from becoming stuck in our body. Because I'm sure we are similar minded, and when an emotion, which is an energy essentially, um, is becomes stuck or is in a place of stagnancy, it settles into the physical body, and that's when disease happens. Is when we are not moving the energy of our bodies, or the energy in our chakras or energy centers. So having a practice, whether it's Kundalini yoga or something else, um, is so helpful to, it's like a preventive health measure, and it can be a healing health measure as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can add fear to the list,
Mm,
or anxiety or stress.
mm-hmm.
Those are things we work a lot on. And then also, of course, anything health related. Um, Kundalini yoga is really potent to keep you healthy.
Can
Um,
you say that word again, because you broke up just a little bit? Did you say cooling yoga?
Kundalini yoga
Kundalini yoga. Okay.
is really potent in when you use it as a preventive um, health practice, so sort of to stay healthy. If you understand all the systems and if you become aware of where the imbalance starts, then you will find ways that there are kriyas for everything. Kriya for the liver, kriya for the spleen, kriya for the eyes, for so many things that so the way, for example, I practice in the morning, I have a daily practice, and I started the first thing in the morning. I have my routine warm up, which is sort of a diagnostic tool,
Okay.
and so that means I have a part of my practice that's always the same, and so I know how my spine feels when it's normal. So if it's off, I know, oh, I have to do something to work on the flexibility of my spine, or um, I have a few exercises where I can feel my lymphatic system, so I know if my immune system is fighting off something, and then I can choose a kriya to boost my immune system, and so forth. So it's a really interesting to use to stay healthy.
Mm. I
Do you
remember
have?
one time a few years ago, I think I may have been interviewing you for a Grand Rapids Magazine article, and you mentioned that you are able to like feel when you're getting sick now before you actually get sick. And that has always stuck with me, like, oh, okay. And I started noticing that for myself, like, what are these signs of getting sick before I actually get sick? And over the years, having that little nugget of wisdom from you and noticing how that's shifted over the years too, where now I can feel it at an even deeper level than what I could 4 or 5 years ago, whenever that was that you shared that with me. So so fascinating.
That is so true. That is so true. Kundalini yoga is also called by some the yoga of awareness. And that is so true. If I compare myself today and maybe 15 years ago, um, the big change and the positive impact of this practice has been this awareness of myself, of listening to your body. The body talks constantly to you, and you can really tune in. And the disease starts with a little imbalance, and since everything is connected, the imbalance in one system will move over to another system, and then once all the systems are sick, then it's more difficult to work on. But if you are catching it at the very beginning, even it can be an energetic imbalance, then it's hard to fall sick, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean the coronavirus is not gonna hit me, but I'll catch it very early, hopefully.
Sure. Mm-hmm. What is it that led you to Kundalini?
It was total luck. I was having trouble with my spine when so I have two kids, and both pregnancies, I think they were placed somewhere, my babies were placed somewhere where they were pushing on nerves. And so I had really severe back problems. And so my doctor said, hey, you have to stop playing tennis. And I was doing impact work sports. I like to have fun and jump around. And I could choose between yoga and swimming. And I lived in Paris at that time. You hear my accent. I'm not from the US originally. I'm German, but I lived in France. My husband is French. And in the neighborhood where we lived, there was no swimming pool, or it was overrun. I don't remember. So I chose yoga. I'd never done yoga before. And I just had a very, very good yoga studio with all these really incredible kinds of, there are lots of different kinds of yoga. And I tried everything. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. So, I did the Monday yoga, Tuesday yoga. I tried everything. And I just fell in love with yoga, with the Kundalini yoga. I think I had a really wonderful teacher. And I'm very sensitive to energy work, so I had no idea what was going on, but I just felt really well after practicing this kind of yoga, and kept learning, and then it became part of my life.
Okay. I'm always curious about people's lives before their practitioner life. So you are a Kundalini yoga guide and teacher now. What were you doing before you started teaching?
So I I studied business, and I'm so not a business person, but I know that's sort of where I ended up. And I worked as a change management consultant in big companies. And then what I really liked was the people aspect of the change management. There's an IT aspect, there's a training aspect. I really liked the human change aspect. Nobody likes to change, so you have to sort of convince people that it's in their interest to do changes. And then I moved on to executive coaching. So that's what I did before moving to the US. And then when we moved here, I was actually following my husband, and Grand Rapids was a little bit small for me to find a job. I would have had to travel, and my kids were still young, and none of my kids were speaking English. So, I took a break, and so liked the break that I never went back to my original work, but did this teacher training in Kundalini yoga, and also started. I love art, so I went back to art, and I'm pretty happy since.
That's your own art on the wall behind you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something that I did Although this was one of, so I love Australian Aborigine art, and this is not an original of mine. At the beginning when I started, I copied a lot of them,
Okay.
and so this is a traditional Australian Aborigine pattern that I just made in 3 panels. Yeah, but it's like my little church here.
Nice. I know we've talked a bit about like lies before practitioner. Did I tell you that I used to be in change management too? Did I
I
ever share
know.
that with you? Yeah? Okay. All right.
Common.
I kind of forgot about that for a minute. I was like, oh yeah, I was on a change management team as well. So I know that world, the IT and the training and the communication and all of that.
Before that, I was in urban planning.
Oh,
That's
that's what I remember of you. Okay. Which is
it was
interesting because I was in change management and then I moved into HR communications. And there was a time there, maybe it was when I was still in change management, where I really wanted to go back to school and get a degree in urban planning.
yeah,
We're similar.
it's a very, very interesting area. Yeah.
Okay. So back to Kundalini. Before we get into what you're going to guide us through today, is there anything that people should keep in mind when they do this? Maybe certain things, certain reasons why people should not participate today.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Kara. Yes. So I usually am not a fan of online teaching. It's actually my first time that I let somebody record myself. And I'm aware that people will practice without me being there physically to make them safe. So yes, I want to tell people that first they have to be responsible for their own safety. I mean, this practice is generally safe for most of the people, but there are a few contraindications. Um, 2 major ones are if you have high blood pressure, you should not practice without a teacher by your side. Unless you are a Kundalini yogi and you know exactly what you're doing and your blood pressure is in control. And then the other major reason is if you're pregnant, you should not start with Kundalini yoga for 3 main reasons. We do a lot of navel pumping, and we also hold the breath, which is an absolutely no if you are pregnant, and then inversions and things like that. And then there are other health conditions. I mean, the list is probably long. So make sure that you have nothing that's contraindicated, and the best is to ask your doctor if that's the case. And the other thing that I always tell beginner students, and I will teach this class as if it's a beginner class, is you should never hurt. I mean, you should feel better after the class, and it should not hurt. It can be a little uncomfortable. That's a good thing. But there's a difference between something that hurts and something that makes you that stretches you and that makes you a little bit, that pushes you out of your boundaries. And then the second thing is we're going to do energy work. So I picked a kriya today. Actually, it's not the one that I mentioned to you, Kara. I changed my mind.
Okay. All right. So disregard what I said in the beginning.
It's going to still be, we're going to work on the immune system, but from a different perspective. I wanted to introduce a little energy work. So when you do energy work, there's a lot of breathing, and it's powerful breathing. What I'd like to let people know is that you do not have to follow me, because when you are a regular student, you will breathe faster and stronger. You should always start slow, even if you are super fit. It has nothing to do with that. This energy work that we do is very, very potent. And you always should start, so breathe slowly when I breathe quickly, and do your own rhythm. see how you feel. And if you don't feel much, well, then you can accelerate a little bit so that you get a little bit more of the boost of energy. You want to charge the sympathetic nervous system. And so you want to take it gradually. And also today I will not teach with the full times. I will cut times proportionally to what they are, so that it's doable for beginners. So that's the other thing. If you look up a kriya online, don't do the 11 minutes of breath of fire right away. Start with 2 minutes, see how you feel, and continue gradually. Yeah, I think that's...
Okay. So if people have their kids at home with them right now, as many people do, is this okay for kids to do along with their parents?
Yeah, so if you have a kid that is like my kids used to be, you know, their attention span to this will be quite limited. So I don't think it's really risky. Kids shouldn't do, they shouldn't hold their breath too long, and they shouldn't do the breath of fire too much. But generally they don't. I mean, they do it a little bit, and then when it's hard, they generally stop. So I think it's okay if your kid is, if you want to introduce your kid to this. Yeah.
Okay. Any other tips for people as far as what they need to have to be comfortable as they do this? Yoga mat, carpet, or...
So I picked so when you do Kundalini Yoga, there's a whole range of practices, from very slow and relaxing to super, super hard. So I picked something that's sort of medium. You'll feel some sensation, but also I chose something that is where, because I can't move a camera, so we're sitting a lot. So it's not all the kriyas were sitting as much as this. So it depends what you work on. So today we're sitting a lot, and so once I start teaching, you'll see I'm sitting in easy pose on a yoga mat on the floor. And I also have a little meditation cushion to lift my hips up. I'm going to put maybe my camera a little bit further so people can see.
There we go.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, here. Now you can see me. So it's always nice to have a little something so that, see, if I'm going to show it from the side. When I sit on it, well, I'm taking the cushion away. I'm here. So I'm exaggerating, and see my spine is all rounded up. But when I practice, I want you to be here. So I'm gonna lengthen my spine. And so this is pretty hard for the lower spine to keep that, especially when you're not used to it. So if you take a little meditation cushion, I folded it in two here. See, I'm already here. So this is much more comfortable. And for people who are not comfortable on the floor, you can sit on a chair. If everything we're doing today, you can do on your chair. You would sit at the edge of the chair with your feet nicely grounded on the floor. And it's even, when you do energy work, that's even nicer because you're not blocked here at the first chakra, but you can also bring the energy down and ground through the floor, you know, in a different way.
Yeah. I'm generally a chair person myself.
Sorry. It would also be important to have water, something to drink.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, whenever you are ready to start, let's do it. I'm going to put myself on mute over here so that the camera doesn't switch over to me if there's any sound coming from me. If you want to move your camera back just a little bit, your head is kind of cut off, so that way we can see all of you.
Is that better? Can you still hear me?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to arrange my computer a minute and take my headphones out. All right. So go ahead whenever you are ready, okay?
All right. And so, Kara, you're doing it with me, right? You're my student. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start our little class here. So as I said before, we're going to cut the times a little bit to fit it within an hour. But sometimes it doesn't work, so I hope you have a little time to do this. All right, I see Kara is sitting is sitting up. She's putting her cushion and sitting in easy pose. Perfect here. All right. So every Kundalini Yoga session, class all over the world, will start in the same way. We have a little tuning in before we practice. So we're tuning into our higher selves, but also into each other, and just taking a little time to ground and to be. And to do that, we'll sit and I'll guide you into breathing, and I'll guide you into feeling your energy flow. So you'll learn a lot actually just in this little 5 minutes of tuning in. And then we'll transition into a little chanting. So if you don't remember what I chant and what the melody is, you could Google it and Google Kundalini Yoga, how to tune in and how to tune out. And you will have ample guidance. There's a lot on the internet. We'll chant 2 mantras. The first is called the Adi mantra, and it is Om, O-N-G, Namo, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And I always tell my new students, do not worry, just fake it until you make it. What is really important with chanting is that you are not projecting your voice outside like singing, but you are vibrating your sound in your body, as if your body was your instrument. You want to feel that voice vibrating. It's an energetic warm-up, basically. Okay, so we'll chant that 3 times. It means I call upon divine wisdom. I always like my students to know what they're chanting. It's Gurumukhi, and it's an Indian tradition. And then the second mantra is the Mangala Charan mantra. It's a protection mantra. And that is Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, and then Siri Guru Dev E Name. The last one is a little complicated. I think I chanted it wrong for 4 or 5 years, so do not worry, just do whatever comes out, all right? So I'm gonna guide you through that little flow, which is called tuning in. So I'm gonna sit comfortably, and the first thing you wanna do is stretch your spine tall, as if you were growing your spine, and then applying a slight chin lock. So the chin lock has nothing to do with moving the chin, it's actually a stretch of the muscle in the back of the neck. And this is the perfect position for energy to circulate up and down the spine. Relax your shoulders. The fingers are in Yen Mudra, index finger and thumb touching. And then you relax them here on your knees. And if you stretch your elbows, you feel like one. You're grounded in the earth and your head is in the universe, and the breath is in between. You want to breathe only through the nose. The default mode of breathing in Kundalini Yoga, if I don't say anything, will always be the nose. And the gaze, the default gaze is at the third eye, between the eyebrows here, this little stretch of the optical nerves. It's a little uncomfortable if you're not used to it. And you look at colors and patterns up there as you breathe long, deeply through the nose. On the exhale, relax your shoulders and empty the lungs. The more you empty the lungs, the more you will be able to breathe in. The need to breathe in is because you have too much CO2 in your blood. So if you empty your lungs, then you will be able to slow down the breath. As you exhale, relax your shoulders and become aware of the earth and how your seating bones are connecting with the earth. And then I always like to invite my students to get rid of some stress when I come into class. And the way to do that is to breathe into your nose and then exhale through the mouth. A couple of rounds. And come back to the nose breath. Inhale into the nose. And exhale out of the nose. And exhale into your physical body. Scan it and check in with yourself to see shoulder level, go down into your heart center area and then into the navel layer and see if anything is tense and breathe into it. And at the lower spine. And next, I'd like to invite you to connect to the flow of energy. This is a very important. We'll do it again and again through the practice. Energy feels like an inner wind that goes down the neck, down the spine. Exhale it down. On the inhale, this inner wind goes up, and it tends to spiral around the spine upwards, up the spine, up the neck, up the crown chakra. Try to feel that inner wind as you exhale. Visualize it. Give it a color, maybe some whatever color you want. Sometimes we visualize it as something white coming down, like smoke, and then it goes up. And your mind can really move energy wherever it wants. So you sort of consciously taking control of that flow, bring it down on the exhale, up and in. And also look if it's balanced. Do you feel the energy along your spine, or does it feel stronger on one side or the other? And then we'll do all these things. Continue breathing long and deeply. Stay at your third eye and rub your palms together in front of you, at the height of the heart center. Feel the fingers against each other as if it was the very first time you feel them, that mindful. And the palms and this little fire of energy building in your hands. And then connect in prayer mudra. So really connect the palms and feel that there's a little current of energy. And then you draw that prayer mudra towards your chest and touch. When inhale, exhale, hand to the lungs. And then we're going to inhale to chant. Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Angrename, Jagangrename, Satgrename, Sri Gurudeve Name. Angrename, Jagangrename, Satgrename, Sri Gurudeve Name. inhale and hold your breath. Put your tongue on the upper palate. Look up to the crown chakra on top of your head. You're aiming your eyes even higher up and you're lengthening your spine. Hold as long as you're comfortable holding. And if you're pregnant, don't do that. If you have high blood pressure, don't do that. And then exhale. When you're ready, relax the hands. I always tell my students, once you exhale, relax your hands on your knees. That way I know you're done. Because we all have different lung capacities. So some people hold their breath longer. So why are we doing this? We are, as yogis, we know how the body functions. And actually, when you hold your breath and there's no oxygen coming in, it's like an emergency. There's something wrong. So the body will keep the two major parts, the most precious parts, alive by sending and concentrating energy in the heart area, heart and brain. And as yogis, we take advantage of that. So by holding your breath and creating a fake emergency, waking up the connection between the lung and circulation, and we start waking up the brain. And so in between exercises, we'll do this over and over again. So that is the tuning in. And from there, I will invite you to warm up a little bit. I always like to warm up before starting a kriya. I also warm up energetically before I meditate. And so we'll just walk you through a very short warm up so that it doesn't take too much time. But a warm up can be, one exercise can be longer depending on what you do. What I love to do, because it's pretty complete, is go through the chakra system using this little flow. This is the only part where we Kundalini Yoga teachers are allowed to sort of create our own. So this was passed on to me by my own teacher at, I had it in France a long time ago. So we're starting with something called spinal flex. And spinal flex, for those of you who are yogis, it's like a seated cat-cow. So cat-cow, I'm going to show you from the side, is where you're on your knees and hands generally, and then you're flexing your spine, and then you're making a round spine, right? So we're going to do that with inhale in front through the nose. So again, if I don't say anything special, it's always nose. And then we'll exhale through the nose. And we sort of move from one to the other like water. And you do that at your own rhythm. So you'll see me start slowly, and then I will accelerate as my spine warms up. And you can do it with me, or you can keep your own rhythm if that's not available to you. This, I'm going to complicate it a little bit, Kara. We're going to do this in 4 steps. Moving up the chakra ladder. We're going to do a spinal flex to begin with, where we're holding our ankles here. And where the flex is actually very low in the spine. I'm moving maybe between my navel point and the first chakra here. So I'm stretching. It's a small movement from the sciatic nerve area. Inhale, exhale. Eyes are closed. You're looking at your third eye, and you're feeling and visualizing what is going on. Here comes a body-mind connection. Notice that when you are relaxing in the back, rounding your back, the energy goes down the spine. Visualize that flow of energy going down the spine in your first chakra. The first chakra is at the bottom of your spine. I like to visualize a little bowl, and then it's receiving the energy there. The first chakra is about grounding, about your basic survival needs, safety, belonging. So not only are we warming up the lower spine, but we're also waking up that chakra. And then without stopping, we're going to bring our hands in front of us on the floor, touching with the palms in front, and doing a similar movement, but this one if you notice, works a little bit higher up. You're already mid-spine now. And when you inhale, you want to feel that now it's the second, third chakra that is receiving the energy that goes down. For people who are on chairs, you would do something similar than us. You would have your hands on your knees, and you would start with your knees together. And then as we move from one step to the other, you would open up the knees a little bit. So when we work on the first chakra, your knees would be together, and then this one, you would have your knees a bit wider open, and so forth. Again, work at your own rhythm. Do not follow me necessarily unless this feels comfortable. And without stopping the movement, inhale as if you window and exhale back into the house. Inhale, fill your lungs with fresh air. Exhale back. Hands on the knees. Full spine now. Inhale into your heart center and then exhale into your navel area. So before we were working on the second and third chakra. Second chakra is about your creative flow, your capacity to be playful and go around obstacles. Third chakra is about courage and willpower. Now we're working at the heart center. Inhale heart, exhale into the navel. Use a fourth step, which will open the throat chakra. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together. Exhale. So I'm sort of exaggerating the movement. Using the shoulders. Now we're inhaling into the throat chakra. This is about your personal truth, your truth being heard by others, your inner teacher. And you feel that you're warming up the upper spine. And then inhale in center and hold. Remember, hold. Look at the crown chakra, lengthen your spine. Hold the breath as long as you're comfortable. Create this little emergency and boost the energy into your heart and brain. Exhale when you're ready. And when you're ready, keep your eyes closed and circulate the energy down on the exhale and up, the way we did after the tuning in. Always observe and feel the effects of the exercise we did previously on your energetic body. And if you observe your energy that felt pretty centered at the beginning will widen. It will feel like a sun that sort of radiates around you much wider than when you started, hopefully. Long and deep breathing, relax your shoulders and feel. If you are still at your third eye, notice that maybe the colors up there start changing. Maybe there's more light, there are more colors. Maybe it's dark. I had some students, it's always dark. We're very different, and each of our experiences are very personal. But observe it. All right, so just for the spinal flex, we went up the chakra ladder and we ended up at the throat chakra. And I want to do something for the third eye and for the crown chakra. I would like to invite you to bring your hands on your shoulders. Thumbs are in the back. Spine is tall, chin is locked in by stretching the muscle in the back of the neck. And we're going to twist around a straight spine, inhaling to the left and exhaling to the right. Inhale, exhale. The breath is your rhythm. And I can see when I'm teaching with students that some people are really controlling and not trusting their breath. So the energy of one side brings you to the other side. There's not much of an effort. It's really the breath that moves you. Notice how you're breathing almost from the third eye. And inhale, center and hold. Crown chakra, lengthen your spine, hold the position. And then exhale and circulate the energy. Keep your eyes closed at the third eye. Visualize the energy going down and then move it up on the inhale. All right. So without knowing, we already worked on the crown chakra when you held your breath. And we have done the entire journey. So for those of you who are not comfortable in a seated position, remember you can do the same thing that we're doing on the chair. And I don't know if I was very clear for the spinal flex, but basically you would sit starting like this for the one on the lower spine. This would be the equivalent of this one. And then you open up your knees a little bit for the mid spine. You have to be a little bit more, you're not automatic work there. Here, when I'm with my hands on the floor, I'm automatically working on the mid spine. When you have a chair, you have to be a little more conscious of what you're working on and direct the work there. And then for the one with the full spine, you would open completely your knees and be in a similar position on the floor. All right. Everything okay, Kara, so far? Ah, I think the, okay. It was frozen for a second. I wasn't sure you were still there. Okay, so we're ready to start today's kriya, which is called Kundalini Yoga 1. And I really love this set because it just makes me feel really energetic when I'm done, and I just feel healthy once I do that. So I do that when I feel a little bit tired. And so that's sort of the first, because I'm not tired generally. So when I wake up after a good night's sleep and I'm still tired, this is a go-to kriya to just lift the energy up. What this kriya does, it's a very complete kriya. It works mainly on our glandular system. And three main glands, the thyroid, the parathyroid, and the thymus gland. So your thyroid is here, the parathyroid is here, and then your thymus gland is at the right of your heart center. All these glands have to do with a strong metabolism. So when your metabolism is strong, there's good health, basically. And it also has to do with the immune system and with the lymphatic system. So your immune system, you really want it to be very strong right now with the coronavirus. And you also want your lymphatic system to circulate. So you sort of drain all these little lymph nodes that are mainly here, here, also in the center, and then here, and then around the knees. But this kriya mainly works on these 3 glands, so we're going to work here. So that's where we're sitting today. We're not moving, right? So relax in between exercises, shake it out, and then come back. I'm pretty comfortable, so you won't see me move too much. But please always honor yourself and make yourself comfortable. It should never hurt. If something is uncomfortable, then you have to adapt it. Take a higher cushion, you know, move around. All right. I see Kara's taking a chair. I'm very proud of you. Okay. So I'm going to start with a seated position. You're in easy pose. And our mudra is the following. I'm going to come close to the camera. Your hand is completely open. And the fingers they're not just, you know, open. You're completely engaged. They're really, every single muscle, they almost tremble. When you do that, you can feel almost like a pulse in your hand. That is energy that's doing this. So we have both hands in that position. The spine is tall, chin is locked in. So you're stretching the muscle back of your neck. And we're about at the height of the ears. And we're going to imagine there's an imaginary window here that you try to clean. So you're doing a circle, an outward circle with one hand and the outward circles here. So it looks like this. It's quite fast, and you'll see me jump up and down. If you do it well, you're moving up and down. Close your eyes and look at the third eye. And your breath is long and deep. And almost everybody, and that's why I like to teach that set to beginners, you will feel energy. There's something really interesting happening at your hands and your palms. There is something that doesn't feel just like air. It's thicker. You're working within your energy body, the magnetic field around you. Sort of a protective, energetic body around you. Long and deep breathing. So I didn't put my timer on, but I will. So keep going. If you're looking at me, I know you see only me. I'm going to continue the movement. Don't stop. Your gaze is at the third eye. Eyes are closed. And jump your body up and down just by making these circles. You will feel heat. Maybe you're going to start sweating at your upper lips, your forehead. Everybody's different, but it's quite a movement. Make sure your spine is tall so that your shoulders are locked in. They are not doing much. They are completely relaxed. For the last 12 seconds, accelerate if you can. Become aware of the heat around your neck, in your face, and your forehead. And then inhale, hold, and open your eyes. So this is very unusual in Kundalini Yoga. We always have eyes closed, but in this set, we'll have our eyes open in between exercises. We want the nervous system to be alert and to get a lot of information. Feel what's going on in your palms. There is tingling, vibration. It's alive there. And then exhale, relax. And feel. Keep your eyes open. You will see me close them because I'm so used to closing them. This is a very unusual set where we keep our eyes open in between exercises. So stay alert, drink a little glass of water, shake out your legs if you need to. And then come back into a seated position. And we'll do exactly the same, not exactly the same. We're going to do something with a little twist. We're having our hands back in the same mudra, in the same place, but our chin is going to be touching, almost touching the chest. If you can close your eyes and you do the same thing. And you will notice that now we're really working in the throat chakra here. Long and deep breathing. Outward circles. Chin pressed to the chest. This puts pressure on your thyroid and parathyroid. Whereas the first exercise we did worked on the thymus gland and the chest. And basically we're working on circulation in the breast area. This one is more concentrated in the neck. 9 seconds to go. And then inhale and hold. Open the eyes. Exhale when you're ready and keep your eyes open. And notice what is going on here, the changes that you can feel or not feel. Relax the shoulders. So I'm going to relax for a couple of seconds here. For those of you who want to practice this at home, know that I'm cutting all the times in half. So this is pretty long set when you do the full times. All right. We're still in easy pose and we're going to sit on our floor. So if you have a more cushion, I'll invite you to get rid of it or put it to the side, unless you're uncomfortable when you stay on the cushion. And we're going to do something that we did already today. We're going to do the spinal flex with the shoulder blades pressed here and then shoulders in front. Inhale, exhale. We're continuing to work on that heart, center, throat chakra, and third eye area. Keep going. Eighteen seconds to go. And inhale and hold. Hold the breath, tongue on the upper palate, look up, lengthen your spine. See, I was repeating the same thing. So when I teach students who know my classes, I don't talk much. I just say, hold. And when you can't hold anymore, you exhale, flush the energy down the spine, visualize it, feel it, control it, and bring up on inhale. And always observe what the exercise before had as an effect on your energetic body. And then open your eyes and relax a little bit. Shake out your legs if you need to. Let's take a sip of water. And we're coming back into a comfortable easy pose. We're going to grab our knees and we're going to do something similar to a spinal flex, but this time we're going to do it in a circle. It's called Sufi grind. And we're going to go counterclockwise. So you should be going towards the left in front and then to the right in the back. I'm going to inhale in front through the nose, exhale through the nose in the back. Close your eyes, look at the third eye. And ensuring powerfully to move the lower vertebrae next to the tailbone. It says here that this will give you your muscles at that level a new blood supply, and that the major glandular system are controlled by the pelvic bone area, and it adjusts that area. So when I have my eyes open, I'm watching Kara, I'm just checking if she's okay. But you, if you can, keep your eyes closed at the third eye, stay within, visualize, feel. You sort of feel how the energy goes down to the left, up to the right. It's sort of like a water drop shape. Be flexible on your sitting bones. Grind a circle into the floor, into the earth around yourself. This is very good for your digestive system. You can feel you are moving everything in there, giving this area a nice massage. So I'm talking really a lot today, Kara, because I just want to explain the technology, but I usually don't talk as much. If you're a regular student, that would be too much. My goal today is really to introduce this practice to people who've never tried it. And then inhale and slow down. And don't stop abruptly. Let the movement continue. You can sort of feel there's a swirl around you that moves you, actually. Even when you are almost at a halt, there is this swirl that continues. It's actually a magnetic field that swirling around you that you can still feel swirling. And then briefly inhale in the center. And then exhale. And keep your eyes open. Hello, cat. Animals love joining us. since the COVID crisis, I started teaching online, and so people are in their homes. And so I see all the pets coming, dogs and cats, and they like to be there. Next, we're going to come into the following mudra. I'm going to show you. We're going to touch the beginning of the little pinky and then close our hand in front of it. Doing the same in the other hand. And actually, sorry, this is for the next step. We're not there yet. Actually, we're just going to roll our hands around the wrists, almost like throwing them around. Long and deep breathing. So in your hands, there are a lot of nerve endings. And so the different fingers are related to different parts in the brain. And right now we're throwing all these fingers around. And so you think you're working in your hands, but actually working in your brain. On both, actually. And then slow down. And keep your eyes open. And we're going to go either you relax on the floor, or this set invites you to actually walk around. I really love walking around. What we're going to do is walk and integrate the secretion of the glands that we triggered and sort of try to relax and walk around a little bit. So you won't see me, you'll see pieces of me unless I go here. I'm gonna maybe change my camera a little bit, but you don't really need to see me to walk around. Just close your eyes and move around on your mat. You don't have to go very far, just relax your shoulders. And intuitively integrate things all that. So I always tell my students to not underestimate the power of relaxation, and that those times in our kriyas are as important as the actual work. It is actual work to relax. And for those of us who are familiar with muscle testing, maybe we can talk about that a little bit at the end, Kara. Well, when you muscle test somebody after relaxation, they're actually much stronger than when they didn't relax. So it has a really powerful effect, even a 1 minute relaxation like this one. Slowly come back to your mat and come back into the seated position. And now we're doing this kriya. We're doing this mudra that I showed before. Hands like this and then folded. We're going to bring our fist here in front of the chest, and then we're lifting up the elbows. Spine is tall, so that you're not like this. You want to be straight with a chin lock, and then you draw circles with your elbows. Long and deep breathing. And close your eyes, look at the third eye, and observe what's going on. What does this trigger for you? This is a wonderful exercise to squeeze the lymphatic nodes that are at the side of your neck. You can probably feel what's going on there, the heat that it generates. And make sure I did it wrong. I was circling my elbows to the back. You're supposed to circle towards the front. So Kundalini yogis, they always have their books with them. So I have my book here. because there are all these details, and some exercises resemble, they're very close, but there's always this little detail that changes. This is actually much harder for me. I don't know if it's the case for you, Kara. You feel there is a connection between this movement and your upper lips. There's this stretch, there's this muscle that sort of stretches my lips open a little bit. And then inhale and hold. And exhale and relax. Keep your eyes open. I close my eyes. Keep your eyes open. So do you feel the energy? So you probably feel warm. Yeah. Keep your eyes open, relax. And then sitting in easy pose with hands on your knees, we're going to begin pumping our navel. We're going to pump the navel in and out horizontally to the floor. So it will resemble a breath of fire. You're going to probably exhale through the nose as you bring in navel in, but that will be resulting from that navel pumping. And we're keeping our eyes open for this exercise. And when you do this, it's better that you did not have a big lunch like me. I can really feel it. It's always better to have an empty stomach when you do Kundalini Yoga. That's why I practice early morning before breakfast. You might feel that your navel is stronger when you started, and it sort of weakens with the practice. You can do it slower than what I do. Find your rhythm that you can sustain. This is very good for the digestive system. "15 seconds to go." Inhale and hold. And exhale and flush the system. Keep your eyes open. All right. we're nearing the end. The next exercise is a really interesting exercise. We'll feel the magnetic field again. There is a magnetic field right here. It's called the arc line. In a lot of cultures, it's represented as this halo of light, which goes from earlobe through the third eye here to the earlobe. And we're gonna work on that. Let me just check the exact hand that's closer to the face. I think it's the right hand. The right hand is nearer to the face. The left hand is here. And we're going to crisscross this with open eyes. So you look through the moving hands. This exercise is for the nervous system. So what we're doing here is basically a very complex movement that is so fast that the nervous system at one point gives up. The nervous system always wants to control things. So what we're doing is something that it can't control, and so it has to relax and reset. Long and deep breathing. Keep going. I will just put our timer on. Make sure your spine is tall, and your shoulders are locked in. Keep going. We have a couple of seconds to go. Keep your eyes open. Look through the crisscrossing. And then inhale and hold. Open your eyes. Feel what's going on at your hand level. And then exhale when you're ready. And relax. Keep your eyes open and feel. And then the next exercise, I love doing this. I use that sometimes for warm-ups because it just feels really good. So we're going to make a fist again. And this time we're going to beat our rib cage with our elbows like chicken wings. And I don't know if you hear mine. You don't want to hurt yourself, but use it as a little drum. Long and deep breathing. There's this refreshing energy. It's sort of cooling down the body. Very often in Kundalini Yoga, we use tapping to trigger a response, like a healing response. Here we're actually, I believe, working on the lymphatic system, draining the lymph nodes to the sides and renewing the lymph. You can close your eyes and look at your third eye for this exercise. Really Approaching the end of the kriya, integrating. And then inhale and hold. Exhale when you're ready. Relax the position. Circulate the energy field. And again, we're going to take a little break. This time you cannot stay seated. It's a must walk. So again, we're going to integrate things a little bit. Relax, keep your eyes open, and walk around. So you notice that I have a little beep beep. It's my timer. And that helps me know how long I have to practice. They're really not expensive. If you want to do regular Kundalini Yoga, you'll need one of these. It says here, you must allow the system to absorb the energy. Feel the earth. "30 seconds to go." And then slowly come back onto your mat and sit one last time. In a comfortable position, easy pose. And we're going to do this last little part, which is a breath of fire through the mouth with the tongue sticking out. So I don't know if I want to be filmed with my tongue sticking out, but I'm going to do it. So the breath of fire is really this power breath we use. It has different names in different traditions. We call it breath of fire, where you pump your navel in and up the diaphragm. It's sort of an L-shaped movement, in and up, and it boosts the energy upwards like this. When you are doing it through the mouth and sticking out your tongue, generally you're detoxing the liver. You're gonna maybe feel a bitter, salty taste. If you do it, the more you stick your tongue out and the more, the longer you do it. We're gonna just do it for 1 minute. So hands are relaxed here, spine's tall, stick your tongue out and breath of fire through the mouth. And then inhale and hold. Tighten all the muscle of your body. Tighten. Hold your breath. Become one. And then exhale through the nose. Inhale, hold again. Tighten every single muscle of your body. Exhale again once more. Inhale, hold, tighten. And exhale. Let the energy move downwards. Feel it, visualize it. And then inhale this inner wind up. And observe. And then slowly come back to consciousness. And then at this point, Kara, if I was teaching in a real class, I would invite all students to lay down in Shavasana on their back. So you would lay down, palms facing up, legs extended, and then cover yourself. I don't think this is super interesting for recording. What you could do if you're doing this set with us is to pause and then do your relaxation for 7 minutes, 7 to 9 minutes would be wonderful. Play beautiful music and then just relax. And then slowly come back to consciousness, conscious breath, stretch, and then come back into a seated position. And then we'll do the tuning out. So, Kara, how do you feel? Do you feel like doing a relaxation, or would you like to do one, at least a minute or something like that, or should we?
Yeah, why don't we do it for at least a minute or a couple minutes just to give people that space to do it for themselves and then come back to do the tuning out?
Okay, let's do that. Right? Right. Just know that 2 minutes would be very short. If you want to do longer, please feel free. The longer you relax after this, we moved a lot of things in your body. So 7 to 9 to 11 minutes, depending on how much time you have, would be ideal. Kara and I will do minutes. All right, I'll mute myself as well so that there's no weird noise, and then I'll come back. So Kara, very slowly come back to consciousness, and all of you that are relaxing, don't just come up too quickly. Come back to a conscious breath, long and deep breathing. And also wiggle around with your fingers and toes. We're waking up from the nerve endings. And I always like to do a big morning stretch, bring your arms above your head. And then stretch from the fingertips in down to the toes, left and right, like a little dance on the floor. You can flex and point your feet, yearn, just a feel-good stretch. And then bring your knees on your chest, and we'll rub the feet and the hands together with the head still on the floor. This is to bring the heart, the circulation back to the heart, so that you're not dizzy when you get up. And then when you're ready, rock and roll up. Or if your spine doesn't permit this, you would come up by using the fetus position on one side and then carefully come up from the side. There we go. And we're back here. And make sure you can see my head. Hey, cat. So our people who are watching probably don't see the cat because they see me, but Kara's cat is looking into my eyes, into the camera. So come back into a seated position. Always take a little time to check in and compare to the baseline of when you started. How do you feel now? It's always an interesting observation to do at the end. I hope you feel better, at least a little bit. So your eyes are closed with the third eye, mudra again, spine's tall. We're ending similar to how we started. And then our tuning out ritual in Kundalini Yoga is always the same again. This time we'll chant 2 different mantras. One in English, it's "May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on." It's a traditional folk song that works like a mantra. A mantra doesn't have to be in a foreign language, it can be in your language. What makes a mantra is that the meaning, the sound, and the energy sort of align. They're doing the same thing. And if you observe when you chant this, the long time sun shine upon you, and you feel how the sound goes down into you, and the love surround you, you'll feel how the sound goes around you, and so on. And then we end with 3 satnams. Satnam means truth is my identity, and we're going to vibrate the sat very long at the heart center. It's really a heart center opener at the end, and then nam goes down into the navel chakra, sort of release. And we'll do that 3 times. So again, fake it until you make it. If you forget about this and you want to practice, Google Kundalini Yoga tuning out, and you'll find this. I'm going to rub our palms together. Hands in prayer pause, connect, feel the currents, and your hands probably feel very different from when you started. Bring the mudra towards your heart center. Want to inhale? Exhale. And inhale to begin. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And the pure light within you Guide your way on. Made a long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And the pure light within you. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Guide your way on. Nam. And inhale, hold last time. Bottom of the palate, look up, the crown chakra. And exhale, relax. Namaste. Thank you, Karen, for joining me, and thank you to anybody who will join us in the future when they watch this.
Thank you, Susanne.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was so wonderful. Oh, I loved it. I'm
And
definitely play this for myself to practice consistently.
yeah.
I had a whole bunch of questions as we were doing this. Ooh, getting bit by my cat. But I have forgotten what they are. But it was so interesting to hear or to feel. Can you hear me? Are you still there?
We're cut off. Can you repeat?
Okay, now I can hear you. So it was so interesting to go through that and just notice what was happening within me in terms of like maybe where my thoughts were going. And then with that reminder to internally visualize looking in my third eye, it's like doing that would bring me back to presence or bring me back to myself rather than out here or out there or hearing my son in the basement playing video games with his over the speaker with his friend. So it's always interesting to have those little things to kind of like hold on to bring me back into the practice when I might get taken out. And just noticing the different physical sensations where like, oh wow, there's a lot of like soreness or tenderness when I'm doing this thing here. Like I didn't realize I was holding so much right there. And so many things. I love it so much. And then certain ones where like I really felt um things more energetically versus like the physical stuff. So like maybe I could just feel a lot more moving in my body than I could feel, there was one of them where it was like such a nice stretch for some soreness or something. So it really was noticing all of those things happening on a holistic level in my mind, in my body, and from a spirit or energy perspective too. So lovely.
Yeah, that's how it should be. What is interesting is sometimes you can practice the same exercises, but depending on the focus of your mind, you can notice different things. I'm going to give you an example. For example, when we did the spinal flex, if I hadn't asked you to pay attention to the flow of energy going in different chakra system, you might not have paid attention to that. And so the physical realm would have been more present. So it is so interesting how the mind, depending on what it's looking for, can put a zoom on certain things. And actually, there are two ways of practicing Kundalini Yoga. Very often the teachers will invite you to find one practice that is really what you need. So, you start learning about it, and then you do different sorts of kriyas. And there is this one kriya that really speaks to you. You feel really good, and it works on something that you need to work through. And then the teacher will invite you to do it for 40 days. And that is one way of doing it, is experiencing the same kriya over and over again and noticing different things, and noticing how every time it's a little bit different. It has nothing to do with the kriya, it has something to do with you.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But then there's also the way I practice, which is, I have 40-day practices, but generally I like to diversify. I like to do different things. And then as you do all these different things, you always notice different things about you. Sort of, the zoom is always different. When you work on the nervous system, you're going to pay attention here. When you work on like more energy work, it's going to be more around you. It's just really interesting. But what's interesting is that we're always doing everything. It's just the mind that pays attention to certain things rather than others.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience is very personal. As a teacher, I give a little guidance to what to look for, but I really insist that sometimes my words, my images are not yours. And that is totally okay if your experience is completely different. And I hope that I'm not projecting mine. I try to not do that.
Not at all. One thing I'll mention that I noticed today was the first time that I ever did a Kundalini class with you. So I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or so. I remember being so aware of some of the movements and how like funny they might look like to onlookers. Like, there's the one that one, or there it was earlier on in today's kriya. Am I using that word right? Kriya.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it all of a sudden dawned on me, like, oh, I'm not having those thoughts at all, like paying attention to what other people might be thinking. Granted, I am in my own house, but we were in a studio with other people in the evening, and there weren't other people moving around or coming around. And my kid is downstairs too. So it was just an interesting encounter with a mindset many years ago versus a mindset right now.
Yes.
So I love that, and learning something and then doing it again later, or how you were talking about doing something for 40 days. How did you feel on day 1? How are you feeling on day 3 or day 10 or day 40? What has shifted, either physically or mentally, emotionally, or energetically as well? So
Yeah.
you mentioned muscle testing as well. To touch on that at the end.
Yes. Oh, good that you said we'll talk about it later. I know you and a lot of the practitioners at the Wellness Collective use muscle testing. So I don't use it myself, but in my training they use it a lot to show us how important relaxation is, and to really honor this time where you deeply relax. And I used to remember my teacher always saying, when you get a chance to relax hard, really deeply relax, because you don't know when the next relaxation is going to come. And as a teacher, I really insist on that don't rush through the exercises. If it says a minute of relaxation, relax. So I need to say that I didn't time everything. This is a little bit wishy-washy, my timing. I was trying also not to make it too long. But when I practice seriously, I use a timer, and I time everything, because some things that you do, you think you know, you think a minute is a minute, but actually a minute can be really long in certain positions. And if you trust your inner clock, the inner clock is very connected to the negative mind. When the negative mind is jumping in, say it's enough, then you think your time is over, but you still have 30 seconds. So
Yeah.
just recommending, if people want to do that on a more regular basis, to buy one of these, I think it's like $10 or something like that. This is really easy. It's seconds, minutes, and
Okay. Yeah, with
even hours. Yeah.
it is interesting.
You want to say something about muscle testing for people? Do you want to say something about muscle testing? How that works?
I won't say too much because I feel like that could be like a whole other like 2 hours of.
Okay, people, come back for muscle testing.
But I will say it's interesting to think about it from that relaxation perspective. Some of the tactics that I'll use if I can't muscle test somebody, there is something in almost like resetting their nervous system, or like taking their attention off of whatever it is that is disabling them from being able to let me muscle test them. There's a disruption that's happening there when we use some of these other tactics. And even thinking about some of these other ones that you showed us today, maybe I'll incorporate that more, because that feels a little bit deeper and a little bit more relaxing than some of the other things that I'm doing. So I appreciated that reminder, and really that connection to it being about relaxation versus the ways in which I think of it. So yeah, muscle testing, that could be something for another time.
Yes. Okay.
To tap into your body's innate wisdom and know what's in balance, what's off balance, and what sorts of things might be most effective for your body at this time. So those are ways in which I use muscle testing. All right. Is there anything else that well, actually, let me ask you this. Where can people find you generally? Where do you teach Kundalini, and when we're not in quarantine?
All right. So hopefully when we're out of quarantine, I will try to go back to the Wellness Collective in Grand Rapids in Easttown. It's called the Wellness Collective GR. There's a website. But the best way to find what I teach is to go on Facebook and to look at Kundalini Yoga GR, and to follow my page. That's where I share all the events and the regular classes. I usually teach 3 times a week. I have a very early morning class at 5:15 a.m. on Wednesdays. And I teach Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 to 11 a.m. And then I do workshops. I partner with sound healer Jeff Lambden to do yoga and sound sort of once a month. I teach and volunteer at Gilda's Club. So if you are going through cancer, or if you're caretaker and you're a member of Gilda's, I teach there once a month, and it's free. And you are also welcome to any of my classes for free if you're going through that journey. Yeah, I think that's it. So
Okay. Well, I will post that.
That will be the case when we get out of the crisis, right? Who knows?
Whenever that is.
Yes.
All right. I will post that information
Thank you.
alongside this video. So thank you so much for guiding us and teaching us these kriyas today, Susanne. If you would like to donate to this episode, you can do so through PayPal. Just use my email address, Kara, K-A-R-A, McNabb, M-C-N-A-B-B, @gmail.com, or on Venmo. My contact there is Kara-McNabb. Okay, thank you so much. And Susanne, it was great to see you, and I hope to see you in person soon. And that's it. Talk to you later.
Thank you.